Good evening. It's my pleasure to introduce the third theme of this year's Innovation Summit. In just a moment on themes, it's one of the most exciting parts, the most challenging parts of reinventing the Innovation Summit each year is to identify the themes that are valuable to Alaska's economy. So we'll be asking you at the end of the summit and after the summit, what are the issues that we should be focusing on in the next year? But tonight we are focusing on Alaskans investing in Alaskans. And to help us to frame up this important topic of equity investment in small businesses is Benton Moore, the CEO of Sea Dragon Capital, a fund for early stage investments, and serves as the fund manager of the San Diego Angel Conference. His most recent clean tech startup was acquired by private equity firm Oaktree Capital. Benton earned his JD and MBA in new venture management from University of San Diego, as well as specialties in international law from Trinity College in Dublin, and strategic management from MIT. In an adventurous, change-making career of over $100 million in deals, Benton's proudest accomplishment is coaching his daughter's undefeated soccer team. Please join me in welcoming Benton Moore.
Thanks, Brian. Hello, Juneau. 2 words I've never said before. This is an adventure. Thank you so much for having me. It's exciting to be here at the Innovation Summit, Alaska, and great to be back in the 49th state, the last frontier. So Brian laid everything out. I won't go through my bio, but I will. There's Craig. Hi, Craig. Pitch contest. All right, we have some technical difficulties down here. So, not sure if we're going to get these resolved or I'm just going to go without slides. Betsy? Hey, here we go. Thanks. So, welcome to Angels, Sea Dragons, and Unicorns. A look inside my twisted mind and some mostly real insights into innovation investing. My bio has been overly explained, and yeah, I don't want to talk about the past because I'm really excited about our unwritten future and how we're going to tackle this climate crisis and change the world. The short answer is through innovation investing. So, I live in according to my 11-year-old daughter, I live in a mythical fairy tale world where when I drop her off from school, she says, "Hey, Dad, have fun with your little angel friends chasing unicorns," or whatever it is you do. Then she rolls her eyes and says, "Have a good day." It's pretty cool, but it does give you pause about what it is you do with your life. And maybe we need some better mascots. But angel investing is a very real thing. I'm not sure about angels. Unicorns, not so real. Unicorn companies are very real. So I want to talk about what is real, what is not real, maybe debunk some myths about what angel investing is, and have some fun. So I'll tell you what is real. Sea dragons. These are real creatures. I named my company Sea Dragon Capital with my daughter after we discovered these amazing, fascinating, real creatures. Very rare, but very real. And it was kind of served as a thesis for what I was trying to do in my investment life. Find very real, but very fascinating and very rare companies that were trying to change the world. My focus initially was clean tech. Anything that could bring us clean air, clean water, renewable energy. That was my focus. I've since expanded to biotech and ag tech and fintech, and well, if it has tech, I'll invest. What is not real? Here we go. So when I started my company of investing, my friend said, "Oh, so that'll be like Silicon Valley, right? Venture capital?" I was like, no, that's not really that's not even a real thing. They said, "Oh, then it'd be like Shark Tank, right?" It's like, no, not really, getting closer. But these are not real things. Good entertainment, but this is not how the industry works. What is real and is very, very important to me, and I'm sure all of you, is the climate crisis we have. You're probably wondering what this guy from California is up here talking about Alaska investing in innovation, and we're all in this together. That's a picture from 14 years ago. My father-in-law used to live in Kenai. We'd go salmon fishing and exploring and hiking the glaciers, as Bear Grylls would say. And I got to see firsthand the glaciers receding at a faster pace every year because it was marked. I won't say I've spent every day over the last 14 years trying to fix that, but it had a profound effect on me, and I've worked on a couple of different clean tech companies and invested in a lot more. It's a very real challenge, but I think innovation is the way we're going to solve this problem. Maybe it's bold, maybe it's silly, I don't know, but I'll tell you a secret. Most angel investors get involved in funding innovative entrepreneurs because they want to change the world. You can do it with just small checks. So, very real. Again, why am I talking to you from California about Alaska innovation? I don't know, but there are a lot of similarities, actually, between California and Alaska that I found. Apologies if this is small, but it's a good national map. The check marks are by our fine states, and what we found is, well, there are a lot of similarities. Obviously, we're both border cities, border states. We have a nautical history. We love our seafood. Had halibut tacos in San Diego 3 days ago, and we had them today for lunch. So, but we have a lot of the same problems too. Drought and climate change disproportionately affect coastal communities. The cool thing is, we fund startups and we start companies at a higher rate than most states in the country. If you see, Alaska is at 0.41, California is at 0.45. Yes, statisticians, you can call me out on population and that sort of thing, but this is encouraging. Alaska funds innovation already. We just need to do more of it. So we're maybe not as dissimilar as we'd think. So what is an angel investor? We're gonna have 4 hours of boot camp education tomorrow about how to do it, but I wanna share just a little bit of stats. There are over 4 million qualified, close to 5 million angel investors in America, but only 300,000 are active. So we need more active angel investors. Only 26% of angels are females. In San Diego, we have over 30%, but we need a lot more. It's a huge industry, funding innovation. We're talking about $25 billion annually funded into startups from angels. That's a huge number when you look at venture capital, which is 75 million or so. But one of the problems is friends, family, and we say faithful, but some say fools, is a $50 billion industry. And if you look at the life cycle of innovation investing and early stage companies, you'll see, and this might be why we call angel investors angels, we take startup companies across the valley of death. It has a ring, but that ravine at the bottom of the chart is important, and maybe if we can move some of that $50 billion friends and family into angel investing, those investors will be a lot more successful if they have discipline and a network to do it in. But it's important work we do because venture capital is also important, but good companies never get there without angel investors. So why do we invest? Obviously, priority number one is profit. Great, every venture capitalist, every private equity investor is the same, but angels are a little different because that's not the only reason. You've all heard of impact investing. We try and invest in things we believe in to make the world a better place. You heard about triple profit, people, planet, triple P. Well, it's real. It's not just profit that drives angels to invest. So in San Diego, we have an interesting phenomenon going on. About 3 years ago, 7% of startup funding came from angels. Most cities of our size have 30% of startup funding come from angels. So we've been active in trying to grow the ecosystem. You know, the joke is we're incubating baby angels, if that's not ridiculous enough. But that's what we're doing. And if you look at this slide, you'll see there are a lot of networks, a lot of companies, a lot of groups, and a lot of universities all working together. I show you this slide not to say that San Diego is amazing and has a lot of stuff going on, but that all of these different groups work together. And it's a collaboration. And you grow an innovation ecosystem, an investment ecosystem by working together. So before we go into the pitches tonight from local companies, I want to talk about a couple of companies out of Southern California that are portfolio companies we funded, we believe in. This is the company, Aquacycle, last year, that won the San Diego Angel Conference. Brilliant company. They do wastewater management. Not real exciting, but not only do they do on-site wastewater management better than other companies, they actually have a bioengineered solution that creates energy as they filter the water. It's really cool. They've been a great company, and they raised $4 million after we invested them in the angel round. Very cool, and in the last year they've signed some big customers, international companies like InBev and Mars. Another company that we invested in is called Grow Guru. They are also attacking a global problem. They are the first underground wireless soil sensor, allows farmers to use less water and actually create more crops. So lower water conservation with higher yields. And they're tackling the global water supply shortage. So very big stuff. It's exciting. Tomorrow we're going to do 3 different sessions about angel investing from start to finish. So this is maybe just a teaser slide for that. If you want to be a successful angel investor, I can teach you tomorrow very quickly. But I'll tell you tonight in case you can't make it. It's really just 3 things, 3 Ds even. So it's very easy to remember. Due diligence, diversify, don't disappear. Maybe like 5 Ds, but first one is deep dive due diligence, which is 4 Ds. So who's counting, right? But the most important thing is know the company you invest in. Spend a lot of time in them before writing that check. Due diligence is more than just looking at numbers. It's also getting to know the founders, the CEO, the whole management team. It's a long-term relationship between an investor and the early stage company you're investing in. And if you do due diligence properly, meaning over 20 hours, you're 5 times more likely to be successful as an investor. And tomorrow we'll show you all the stats behind that. Second is diversify. If you have more than 25 companies in your portfolio, which means you can't go and write one giant check to one company and expect to be successful. But if you do 10 or 15 or 20, when you hit 25, you get a portfolio effect, and you most likely are going to have one giant winner, one home run that makes up for all of the other high-risk companies that don't quite make it. And the other thing is, part of that is join an angel network, make sure that you're getting really good deal flow from other angels. So if you do that, you're twice as likely to be successful. And then after you write your check, you've done all the great things and picked your company, don't disappear. So don't write your check and run. Make sure that you're active. If you're not sitting on the board, get information rights, get quarterly updates, be involved. There's a lot you can do with a company after you've funded it to help make it successful. So I'm going to leave you with a a couple of things. One very silly, one very serious. Two things that occupy a lot of my time, being silly and being serious, maybe in equal measure. The first is, and these are both out of MIT. So the first is, if you are going to be an angel investor, you're going to hear a lot of buzzwords. You're going to hear a lot of pitches. You're going to hear a lot of malarkey. One of the best ways to figure out if what you're hearing is a real business plan or just a bunch of malarkey is to go to this. It's a spinning, almost slot machine of gibberish. The MIT Buzzword Strategy Generator. It always makes me laugh. If you're going to be an angel investor, you have to laugh. If you're not having fun with it, you're failing miserably, because it's exciting and it's really silly sometimes. So go to, you can look this up, and when you're going through pitches, roll this roulette wheel. All right, that's the silly. Now, serious. This is exciting stuff. I'm really stoked to hear everyone talking about the climate crisis here in Alaska, openly, with brilliant scientists who know a lot more than me actually diving into it. It can be pretty depressing, like thinking that the world's going to end real soon, right? I know I hang my head sometimes, and just last month, MIT launched this really cool online, it's really a game, and it's a hopeful game. It's a solution simulator. So if you're wondering how we can make changes that benefit the environment, you can actually go to climateinteractive.org and do this, and in 20 minutes, see what it's going to take. See that line that goes up and to the right? That's not a good thing if you're looking at climate. It's great for finance, but we want that to plateau off. We're looking at 4 to 5 degrees of Celsius global temperature increase by the year 2100 if we just keep with the status quo. So we don't want to do that, of course, but this shows you a lot of different ways investing in renewables, and there's a slider here called New Technology that's really interesting. If you slide that, you'll see that you can really plateau the climate crisis can change with just making some human behavioral changes. So, fun stuff. With that, I would encourage you to get involved in innovation investing. Our future is very much unwritten, and you can get your checkbooks out and write it. So please join us in being part of the innovation investing world, and we can make a difference together. Thank you.
And without further ado, I will introduce our next speaker. Craig Dahl is currently the Executive Director for the Greater Juneau Chamber of Commerce. Prior to joining the Chamber as their director, Craig was the President and Chief Executive Officer of Alaska Pacific Bank, where he had been for nearly 22 years of his 42 years in banking in Southeast Alaska. Please join me in welcoming Craig Dahl to the stage to kick off our pitch contest.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome all of you here to Centennial Hall, and also for those of you that are going to be seeing this statewide, thanks to KTOO, who will be televising this at a later time. I'm really pleased to be able to serve as the MC tonight. This is really a fun event, and thanks to JEDC for putting on this Innovation Summit. Obviously, I've had a lot of years to watch the business community grow, and what's been exciting about this event is over the past 4 years that I've been involved is watching the different young entrepreneurs come forward, brave the judges who are very stern in this process. And if you look back, we've got already some very successful businesses here in Juneau that have done a great job. So congratulations to JEDC for doing this. Okay, I have to acknowledge the businesses who stepped forward, members of the Juneau Chamber, who quickly stepped forward to fund tonight's cash prizes that are going to be given away later in the evening. So I'd like to thank Alaska Seaplanes, Coeur Kensington Gold Mine, Hecla Greens Creek Mine, Valley Paint Center, Carver Construction, and True North Federal Credit Union. Please give these businesses a round of applause. So we're going to hear from 4 different businesses that are going to be pitching their current business plan to the panel of experts. And of course, as you just heard, you're going to also be voting on your favorite business, your selection for this. When they get done, they're going to have an opportunity for both a cash prize and the opportunity to meet one-on-one with our panel of experts. And it's a big opportunity for them. So before we get on, let me introduce our judges. You've already heard Benton Moore, so we won't introduce him any longer because he has a long, long resume. Misty Rusk is the director of University of San Diego's Innovation Center, the Brink SBDC. Rusk is an expert in innovation, commercialization, and angel investing. She's been involved in everything from an idea to an IPO, numerous startups, and she's also the founder of the San Diego Angel Conference. She is a proof that no one person can be a pro-development and a pro-environment and a champion for social good and a capitalist at the same time. Very good. Will Fowler, wave, Will. Will, who founded the Signal Rock Capital to work with early stage investors. Before founding Signal Rock, Will gained operational and leadership experience working both inside startups and with firms engaged with the angel investment ecosystem. Will also serves as an Angel Capital Association pitch coach for the national conference. His 10 years working as a professional actor served him very well in this capacity. And then finally, we have Samantha LaPierre, Sam. She is a senior associate at the Alaska Permanent Fund Corporation, where she is a member on the private equity and special opportunities team. At APF, Sam focuses on investments in venture capital and growth equity, particularly in the consumer products and biotechnical spaces. Prior to joining APFC, Sam worked in international economic development in Washington, D.C., with a focus on educating and supporting entrepreneurs in the Middle East and North Africa. So please give a nice welcome to all of our judges for tonight. So tonight we have 4 different businesses that are going to be pitching their business. We're going to hear from the local news, Turnagain Heavy Lifts, Salty Lady Seafood, and Aquaga Incorporated. And we've already agreed on their order of presentation, which I know, we'll get close, we'll get it right. So here's how the rules are going to be. They're going to be invited to the podium, and you're going to be watching their presentation, and they have 6 minutes to pitch their business. And then we're going to be there's a timer sitting here that will be giving them the yellow paddle and the green paddle that will, so the yellow is 1 minute, red means stop talking, or she's going to be doing something really bad to you. So you need to stop. Then we're going to give the judges 2 minutes to ask questions, and we're not going to be quite as fierce on the 2 minutes in case the judges take a minute to ask you the question. So we'll flex with that, but we'll try to stick to roughly 2 minutes on the questions. After all 4 pitchers have presented, the judges will be deliberating, and that's the point where you will be given the opportunity to vote from the audience. And when we're done, we'll be compiling the results from both the audience and the judges. So without any further explanation, let's get started. And our first pitcher will be Ross Johnson from the local news in Anchorage. So you want to come on up?
Hi, I'm Ross Johnston. I am a content producer, a digital marketer, and a news junkie. And before I start off and talk about this, I want to let you guys know that this is a pre-seed, for-purpose company. Now, what does that mean? Pre-seed means that I created this PowerPoint back on Monday, and I did not follow the business canvas model, so I apologize. And second, for-purpose means I did a terrible job figuring out revenue streams. So, without further ado, let me tell you why you should be excited about the local.news. Well, number one reason you're excited is because news is dying. Local news specifically. We've lost about 25% of our employed journalists over the past 15 years, and about 75% of the content that we used to get in our daily news, gone over the past 20 years. It has just been dismal. So if you are like me, you can't find anything that is worth reading anymore locally. And it's terrible for our society. Believe it or not, less local news means more polarization, because what happens is that you, as a reader, look for stuff that's relevant to you, and you tend to read stuff that tends to be around your political values, and therefore you're not tied among the community aspect anymore. We're not sharing that shared sense of community from the local news. And there's other reasons too. I put them up there. So what is the local.news? The local.news is a crowdfunding journalist website where journalists can actually post their news up onto a site and then solicit funds from their readers. So what is it? What's novel about this? Well, one, if you're a journalist, you don't have to create your own website. And number two, if you're looking to actually earn money, you now have a system in place where you can actually solicit funds like you would with Kickstarter or Indiegogo, etc., that from your readers to actually get them to donate to you as a monthly publisher. And what the process would be like, so you see the story, you click on a story, you come to this website, and then once you want to click read more, it asks you to register. And why register? It's not a paywall. I'm asking you to register because I want to know as much information as possible about you as a reader, so then I can re-advertise to you and tell you why you should become a donator to a specific type of journalist. And it's really about creating a platform where I'm making it so that the journalist is the one that's prominent. The journalist is the one that you're creating that human connection with, and you're wanting to support that person in order to see more news generated by that person. Oh, well, there's that. So you can, once you, where'd that, I don't know where that popped up again. So this is what it would look like. So once you click on the support button, you can actually click, I want to support this journalist, this is how much I'm going to be donating per month, or I can do a one-time thing, but hopefully the push would be actually toward a monthly donation. Some other fun aspects about this is that, like, I don't know about you, but I hate the like button. Like, it doesn't provide any value. What I'm looking to do is actually crowdsource trust and bad content. So you, as a reader, can actually click trust, and you can flag, you can save, share, and then right there prominently displayed is also a support button. And instead of like having a comment section, as you do with most news sections, what the local.news does is actually has a contribution section where you can contribute facts and information that actually add to the news story, which the journalist can then go back to and incorporate back into the article as edits. And you, as a reader, once you've logged in, you can actually start personalizing the feed for yourself and pick the topics that are interested to you, the reporters that you're funding, the trust score that you're looking for, and by your location. So would you give to a journalist? How many people here listen to public radio? Raise your hand. Well, guess what? There's a 90% chance that you think you should donate, but don't actually do. It's really the 10% of listeners that donate, and that's what really funds this. So if you look at this and you say, well, this sounds great, but I would never donate, well, guess what? The majority probably don't. But it's public radio, like Alaska specifically, got $2.7 million in individual donations, and $2.7 million on the local.news. That would be 27 new local journalists providing local news content, which would be probably twice as many as we have right now. The average donation is about $167. So what's the revenue model? For every donation that comes into the local.news, 20% actually goes to the company, and then there's also advertising revenue. Just as an example, if Jeff Landfield, if you guys know who he is, he has 20,000 readers, 5% actually donate, and if it was $10 a month, that would be an $8,000 salary for him. And this is what, if this grew as big as New York Times, this is how much revenue it could possibly bring. This is our competition. I need one of these slides because that's what pitch deck says. And is there an opportunity for this? Yes, because most of Alaska is a news desert. So there's a lot of area for a local news channel to grow. So Newspapers continue to die, and I want you guys to be excited about the possibility that this could be the future of news in our state, our country. Thank you.
So we want you to use this so they can pick your son and ready to answer questions.
Okay.
Okay, we have 2 minutes for questions. And if you'd come to the, oh, you've got it right there.
Test. Yeah. Hey.
Testing.
I just want to say I applaud your passion that goes beyond getting all the details for a pitch deck and for a pitch competition. It's really about changing something that you've established as a problem out there. I just want to applaud that. I do, however, have a two-part question for you based on the value proposition that you stated. The value proposition that you stated, at least one of them, was that people out there, us, our community, only gets the news that we want to see because of algorithms through the news aggregators that are already out there, right? We click on something and we see more and more and more of that, and so we're only we're insulated from a balanced view.
And most of that news is national. It's not local.
So my question to you is, how are you going to shift away from that paradigm of I only see the news that I want, if as a reader I am paying the journalist to write for me? That's question number one. Question number two, which is just the other side of that, is how can what kind of expectation between donor and journalist will be created if a journalist's livelihood is now dependent upon subscribers for their rent?
Yeah, that's a fun question, right? Like on both counts. The part one is that you as a donor, you might enjoy partisan type information, but there's a strong likelihood that someone else in your community actually enjoys the other side. So what ends up happening is that the news that is created is a reflection of the people within the community, that they will actually give money to the people that they feel respond to them. And so then you'll have some people donating to Suzanne Downing, and you'll have some people donating to Jeff Landfield, and some people to Dermot Cole. These are our local people, but it's all on one site. So you'll as far as the information goes, there's going to be partisan donations, but it's going to be a reflection of that community's interests. So, and the second part of that question?
Just if the community interest is on, like how are we going to get diversity of thought if it's dependent on the community interest?
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's how news is right now. You know, if they say if it bleeds, it leads. The newspapers try to guess what people are going to be interested in anyway. So it's not like that's going to change. But now there's going to be a much stronger relationship. There's not going to be that filter between the publisher to the community. It's going to be directly a reporter to his supporters.
Right. And so the second part of that question is, if you think clickbait is bad now,
Yeah.
when it's just kind of a faceless organization running clickbait, how is that going to get better by introducing a direct relationship between somebody who's writing the story and the person who's paying for it?
I mean, I don't see that creating. I see that because of advertising, that's why we have clickbait issues. It's not because these are the people that we want to read. It's because advertisers are paying for those eyeballs, and so they want you to click on it because it's really crappy content. But you, as a reader, you would never pay someone $5 to create that clickbait, right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you would, but you're probably not interested in, 3 things that are going to make you taller, or,
I'm literally interested in all of those things. I click on all
I was
of those things
I was about
because
to say
I'm
something
interested.
about Cialis, but I'll skip
I'm
that.
literally interested in all of those clickbait things that I choose to click on them, knowing it's going to make somebody money because I'm interested in the story.
But would you fund it?
I do through my clicks.
Yeah. But would you put your money on the line and say, hey, I'm going to pay an extra $5 to read more content like this? Probably not. So that's why I think it'd be less clickbaity.
Okay, Ross, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next we have Meta Mesteg from Salty Lady Seafoods, right here in Juneau. Come on up.
Hi, my name's Maida, and I own Salty Lady Seafood Company here in Juneau. I've been here for about 7.5 years now, and it did not take me long to recognize that Juneau has a food security problem. If you look around, consumers are starting to care about where their food comes from, the quality of it, and whether or not it was grown or harvested sustainably. But if you were to try to go to the store and buy oysters, chances are they came from Washington. About 1/4% of all U.S. mariculture products are actually out of Alaska, and our state has identified this as one of the greatest economic opportunities for our future and for the future of our kids. For me and my family, I wanted to try to create a business that wasn't just meaningful for us, but that was meaningful for our community and for our state. I'd been a photographer for years, and it seemed like we had to just ask ourselves, is Juneau ready for mariculture? Are they ready to have a locally owned farm that grows seafood? And so in 2018, oh, sorry, I'm behind a slide. In 2018, we signed documents for a lease transfer for the only permitted farm site in Juneau. And it was much smaller than what we wanted, but what we recognized right away was the unfair advantage it would give us having the only permitted farm site on the road system. And so even though it was smaller than what we wanted, we went ahead, signed documents, set anchors, and started the build out of our farm. I traveled around the state meeting with other farmers. I learned about my seed source, tried to diversify my marketable product. We put our first set of babies in the water, and we created a valuable partnership with the university and educators here in our area, studying harmful algal blooms out at our site. In 2019, the work really got real. We got the kids out to the farm spring break. They helped us sort, wash, and grade all the oysters. We tried making different types of bags, seeing what would stick at our site. We seeded another 100,000 set of new babies. I spent the year collecting water samples, getting my water at the farm certified for growing. We got a whole bunch of gooey ducks to our site that unintentionally got killed by mussels. So we pivoted, we added mussels to our permit so that we could try our hand at growing them. We designed, built, and deployed our first work raft just in time to get one of the most necessary pieces of equipment out to our farm site, which was our tumbler grader. So one of the key components to our success has to involve customer input. What do the customers in this area want when they look at getting oysters, right? So we took our product as it started to get ready for market, and we took it to some of the greatest chefs in our town, to oyster connoisseurs, and to folks who actually hate oysters, to ask them, what is it that they like about our product? What would they like to see us change? And what are they looking for in our area? And we found unanimously that people are excited about a high-quality boutique petite oyster. And for us, that was a win-win because our site was tiny. So in combining this quality product that our community is looking for with really strong branding and social media presence, we hope to produce a product that everybody in our community can feel excited about. One of the keys for us, a second key for us to be able to do that is to manage one of these smallest farms in the state and actually grow it to a capacity that provides me with a reasonable income, right? So in order to do that, I keep my oysters on the surface for the first year where they get handled every week, and it gives them that great shape we need. But beyond that, I have to actually utilize the entire water column to have space for each of our oysters to grow as they get bigger. So we plan on building and deploying grow-out rafts and actually implementing equipment that would take a lot of the strain and wear and tear that is currently being put on my body so that we can grow enough oysters to create a real viable business. The third key component to the success of our farm has to involve an educational component. With being on the road system and having this great of access to the schools in our area, we want to provide opportunities for young people in our community to get as excited about mariculture as we are. We would like to do education and training components and work with educators to get grant funding opportunities so that we can grow a next generation of farmers to come back and create innovative ways to bring this industry into a global market. So, if we look at this graph here, it looks a little bit daunting, but I want to just point out to each of you that this is a bootstraps operation, business that I have built with money out of the dryer. So I'm not trying to pay back large amounts of debt. I'm just trying to create a livable wage. And the reality is, we're just looking at charging 25% over wholesale market value of Washington oysters. One way that we can look at actually increasing our potential income at the site is by incorporating ecotourism to our farm. I recognize we have a few more mountains to move before we can get there. If anybody here is from CBJ, yes, I know I will need a third conditional use permit for that, which is the perfect segue into my next slide, my SWAT slide. I have spent 2 long years painfully going through and building this farm. We've had to focus on our strengths while adapting to our weaknesses, identifying opportunities for growth, and combating our greatest threats. Within that, it's hard to not really recognize the amount of people that have stood up to back us. When I feel like I've hit a point where I can't move forward anymore, there's somebody that comes to me and tells me about how excited they are about what we're doing, how they want to write a letter in support, they want to know how they can help, they'd love to come out to the farm, they want to get on a waiting list to buy our product, or they're ready to send their kids out, pawn them off for the summer to work at the farm. The reality is I couldn't do any of this alone. I'm not a carpenter, I'm not an anchor setter, I'm not a builder, I'm not any of these things, but I did it with the help of people in our community. And I'm sure those of you who are sitting there in your seat right now are asking yourself, how can I help? Well, you can reach deep into your pockets, find $10 or your little ticket, right, that would otherwise find its way to the dryer, and you guys can put it down for Salty Lady Seafood Company and cast your vote for me. Thank you.
Can you just talk super quick about the environmental impact of an oyster farm?
I can. I'm a very fast talker. So, oysters are an incredible species, right? They feed on all the nutrients in the water around them, and they help bind carbon. So when we look at trying to create businesses that actually reduce ocean acidification, kelp and oysters are the perfect marriage for us actually combating global warming. And they don't involve, if you can grow them here locally, all the fuel it takes to get our food products to this community. So for us in this area, it's the perfect means to sustainably and responsibly growing our own food.
You made amazing. I love the logo. Salty Lady Seafood logo is brilliant. And you've put together a very comprehensive plan. I'm impressed. I have one question about your opportunity that you identify as ecotourism. Could you expand on that a little?
Yeah, so we've actually identified a lot of great opportunities with this site. We have in the works new permits, there's opportunities to grow, and one of the areas that we really recognize is a great opportunity for our business in Juneau is tourism. We've got tons of cruise ships with passengers unloading on our docks every single summer, and for us to be able to kind of tap into that just really helps create a more viable business with greater income potential. And for us, we have to kind of look at every opportunity we have, since there are no other farms actually permitted in Juneau, and it's very difficult to make it through the permitting process. So that's kind of one of the next mountains we hope to move.
One quick question. What would you do with a $400,000 investment? How would that change your model?
If I had a $400,000 investment, first I would start by building a shuck shack and create kind of an opportunity for us to have oysters at different events around our community, weddings. I would build some type of structure out at our farm site that we could have oyster tasting and kayaking around the farm. Since we're on the road system, buses can come in and they can unload passengers right here 26 miles from where we sit tonight. And I would like to try to opportunize on that by getting people out to the farm, getting them engaged, getting them excited about mariculture in our state, and giving them an opportunity to try some of the best oysters in the world. Alaskan oysters are fantastic. The slow growth and the sweetness really makes them amazing. Yeah.
Maida, you might think about picking up the energy level just a little bit. Yeah. And I think on the side, she can actually hold seminars on how to deal with city and borough regulation, U.S. Coast Guard, National Marine Fisheries, and the Forest Service. Don't ask me why they're in the middle of this. Okay. Next up, Bradley Pisamenti from Turnagain Heavy is the business, and he's out of Anchorage. And we need you to speak into that. Yeah. I guess you want that too. Yes.
Thank you. So, full disclosure, I didn't get the memo that this was not 15 minutes, but was 6. So, until a little while ago. So, I am going to do all the slides in half the time with greater than half the coherency, I hope. But reach out if anybody has questions about that. So, on that budget, I have enough time to tell you we are a hardware drone company. The core problem that we're framing here is essentially access for all of these villages. Most of Alaska lives off the road system. I think that we forget that, although anybody drive to this conference? So that's what we're dealing with, and different communities meet that demand, usually expensively, but through a variety of mechanisms. And we're looking to lower the cost of that. So this is kind of a more down-to-earth framing. This was an exhibit actually at the Anchorage Museum last year that was pretty amazing. It had these common store items and then the prices for what they would actually cost in these respective communities. There's a few other examples that are kind of laid out here that just show what people can expect to pay given the logistics challenges. This is also a problem that scales beyond Alaska. Our neighbors to the east, I like saying that, our neighbors to the east actually have similar issues in the far northern stretches of their territory as well. This screenshot of an Amazon Prime order, I believe, was for 2 packets of diapers and some baby formula. 2/3 of the cost of that order is the shipping. So bringing that back, closer to home here, I will go into the logistics of this slide with anybody who wants to hear it later, but effectively, all of these communities, these 40 places, are reliant on Bethel for their logistic needs. And that presents a challenge and an expense for them, but also an opportunity for us to be able to do delivery to them at much lower costs. Some of them have IFR airports that you can fly into in bad weather. Many do not. And that means if urgent medical supplies have to get there, there really isn't a means to make that happen in bad weather. So in an overly simplistic way, we're augmenting the supply chain. Things will still arrive by shipping container. Things will still go out by airport. But we're essentially extending that last mile for what already exists today. So we're not competing with Bush pilots, we're partnering with them. To give another little example here, so I took this photo out the window of a flight coming back from Dillingham to Anchorage. This is coming up the inlet. So we're looking east toward Nikiski, for those of you that know the peninsula. And this distance of just 5 miles is how close that Hillcorp platform lies to the shore. But if they need a single sheet of paper out there, that's going to be a very expensive helicopter flight. So this is our point of entry into that market and be able to get to the kind of goals that I talked about earlier. To put that in perspective, our namesake, this is Turnagain Arm, and our hope and our plan over the coming months is to actually do a test flight from Indian to Hope in under 20 minutes for less than the cost of driving, which according to Google Maps is about an hour and a half. Scaling that out further here, you can see it would be over a 5-hour drive to that spot we were just looking at the shore there. That's actually crossing through Nikiski at the end of that route. So effectively being able to do in under an hour what would take a driver and a truck half a day to do. And this isn't a unique story in Alaska. Roads go where they need to go because of geography, and we can find ways to bring that time down. People ask what we can actually carry. This is our initial prototype that we can actually be able to lift either, for example, 20 pounds for 20 minutes or fly for 40 minutes with a light parcel, all the way up to 130 pounds if you're going somewhere close. This is the model that we're looking to bring to market for this, initially starting with the same way of billing people as traditional air cargo does, but obviously for a fraction of the price. and then move into really logistics management of providing blocks of flights, which we can do because we have the margins to lower those costs, and then ultimately get to monthly revenue to fund our next stage of prototype and begin to extend those distances. Very briefly, our execution timeline, we're testing our first prototype right now. A lot of this depends on us getting approval from the FAA, which we're working on with our partners at UAF. From that, we hope to have customers at the beginning of next year. Let's see. I want to give a quick shout out to Gretchen Fauske and Nolan Clauda at UAA for the engineering assist, and to Peter Webley and Mark Billingsley at UAF for the seed money that helped us buy our first prototype. I'm Bradley Pizzamenti. I'm steering this thing. My co-founder, who's not here tonight, was lead engineer on the barges at SpaceX, does amazing engineering work, and is helping steer this thing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure. I have questions. I have a lot of questions, but I'll try to just ask one or two. Great presentation, interesting value proposition, which I took to be lowering the cost of logistic distribution for relatively short distances.
Correct.
In Alaska or other kind of dispersed communities. How much can you lower the cost of baby formula? You showed that picture of an Amazon Prime order. It was $300 for diapers and baby formula. How do you affect that cost?
Yeah, the answer is it depends, and given, depending on where that is, perhaps not at all. Maybe that's the cost of flying at 800 miles, deep into northern Canada. But I can tell you that there are places that can't get baby formula turned around in 24 hours, whatever they can pay. If they don't have an airport, or if weather is bad, if somebody needs insulin, what are you going to do? You're going to put on a snow machine and pay somebody to go out there and deliver it. That's the method today. And so that's essentially a solution that doesn't quite have the market yet because the capability is brand new.
So access is the other value proposition, just access to the goods. Can you talk about the cost per pound for delivering goods? So we saw a slide of your maximum payload for delivery, but how much does it cost you per pound to deliver that stuff?
I think we'll know that a lot better once we do the flight tests. I mean, initially, the greatest cost, once this is because this is an electric drone, we don't have consumables, so it's the time to go out and do these for the pilots to go out there and do it. So we'll know how quickly that can happen, more so than cost per pound. But the reason I put those numbers up there is because it really is possible once we're up to speed with the process to have it be at that rate.
I have a quick question about reliability. Weather is such a problem in the state. How do you foresee these drones functioning in really awful weather?
Yeah, so we're under the same kind of problems as traditional general aviation aircraft have. We have wing and prop icing the same as they would. But in terms of visibility, we have the ability to fly in any weather as long as GPS signal can come through and we're running the right data. We can operate with zero visibility. And also, critically, we're not risking a pilot's life. I mean, it's an example of a robot doing a dangerous human job. So if you lose the aircraft and the cargo, but no human life.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Bradley.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and finally, our next two presenters are Nigel Sharp and Jonathan Kemmler of Kagwa. Nigel's from Anchorage, and Jonathan is from Juneau. Gentlemen, you have the stage.
Good evening, everyone. Hey, guys. Clicky thing. All right. So my name is Nigel Sharp. I am the CEO and co-founder of Aquagga, and we're here to talk to you about ending the PFAS havoc. So I'm joined today by Jonathan Kamler. He's my co-founder, and the three of us are engineers and scientists, and we have statewide spread between Anchorage, Juneau, and Fairbanks. So I'm going to start off as an engineer and a scientist to teach you guys something, because you might as well try and learn something while you're here. And I didn't know this before. So when you hear the phrase and you hear the volumetric measurement of 1 part per trillion, 1 part per trillion is the equivalent of a single drop in 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Cool fact, right? Try and remember that if you guys can. So let me take you back a little bit. A few months ago, we started on this whole journey across the US. And we've been out doing what we call customer discovery to try and help validate our business model. And what we did is we went to water conferences and wastewater conferences because John and Brian had ideas on how they might have some technologies that could be used to treat water and wastewater. And it was kind of an interesting journey. We developed a business model canvas. And I'm not expecting you guys to read this, but what you'll see there is we started developing a lot of different value propositions and various customer segments. And through interviews, which we conducted over 150 different interviews, we started trying to figure out what value propositions, what customer segments matter, and what else sort of lies into the business model that we need to build. And we were kind of a technology in search of a problem. We have this new enabling technology that John had invented and patented through the University of Alaska Fairbanks. And we were trying to figure out how we could apply it to help solve some problems in the water and wastewater industry. The problem was that every time we had an idea, it quickly got invalidated. And what you see there in the big red boxes are all of the things that we thought we could do that didn't really matter to people that much. And this was kind of shocking for us to find out. So it was kind of an interesting journey. And for me, it was kind of a special journey because I hadn't engaged with the water and wastewater industry before. And what I realized is that there's a bunch of unsung heroes out there every single day fighting for and protecting public health by providing us with safe and clean drinking water across the US and, of course, across the world as well. And water is such a critical resource that we sure as heck hope that when we turn that tap on and we fill up our cups, that the water is clean and safe. But unfortunately, as we're walking around these conferences, all of these heroes were worried about one thing. They seem to be really worried about this new emerging contaminant called PFAS. And we find PFAS comes from a whole bunch of different sources and areas. Things like non-stick cookware, your Scotchgard sprays, your microwavable popcorn bags, and one source amongst all, firefighting foam. And we've decided over the last 30, 40 years to spray this stuff on every major airport across the entire nation, if not around the world. And unfortunately, this firefighting foam is filled with this PFAS. And then something else happened. While we're out traveling, this Hollywood movie came out. And for those, has anyone seen Dark Waters? Hands up. You guys need to, okay. Right, never, three, good. So when it starts streaming on HBO in a few months, just watch it, right? Like, I totally recommend this. Based on a true story, another hero was featured. A hero lawyer who's been battling evil corporations who have been knowingly poisoning us since the 1960s. And it's a fascinating story, and one that is really relevant to us here and today. And this lawyer is still out there battling and fighting these corporations. So why do we care about PFAS? Well, I started learning that PFAS has all sorts of nasty health risks associated with it. Everything from confirmed risks around thyroid disease, cholesterol levels, liver damage, kidney cancers, testicular cancers, as well as affecting like birth weights of babies. And you don't need to have very much PFAS in your water for this to be a concern. Actually, the current EPA health advisory limit on PFAS is 70 parts per trillion, right? And you kind of know what that means. But PFAS isn't just something that's like a remote, distant problem that we don't have to think about here in Alaska. Actually, Alaska has a lot of PFAS contamination. The town of Gustavus, locally, has a major PFAS contamination to the point where they are on state-funded bottled water for the entire town because of the PFAS contamination locally. Juneau has a problem at the airport. We have major problems in the North Pole in Alaska. And actually, this problem is widespread across the nation. This is the largest emerging contaminant crisis of the 21st century. And it's one that you guys, if you aren't aware of it now, you will be, much like you were of asbestos or one of these other major concerns. So, Aquagga was born. 3 guys, 3 engineers, 3 scientists, we see ourselves as technical sidekicks for the heroes out there fighting the PFAS challenge and trying to clean up the water. And what we bring to the table is technology and engineering. So we incorporated as a B Corp with a social mission, and we wanted to deliver affordable and effective contaminant destruction. Basically, we wanted to take on ethical innovation, much like our keynote spoke earlier. Pass over, John.
Thank you, Nigel. So what we've got is a patented technology that's also award-winning technology. But what we're doing is we're taking cleaning water, or taking water that's being cleaned from other technologies. You probably all recognize this. We've been cleaning water since we got up here with this technology. You probably have a lot of them in your house. It's a separation technology. It'll suck these chemicals out of the water, which is just basically, it's a Brita filter. Well, this is how they're cleaning PFAS and other chemicals out of the water at the moment, is they're pulling it out with this and concentrating it in the material that's in here. And the material that's in here is just a powder. And so you take that powder, and that's cleaning the water right there. But what it does is it creates this concentrated stuff, this concentrate with PFAS in it, and we can destroy that with our technology. You take this essentially and scale it up to the size of a house, and we can take the effluent from that and clean it.
So we gave
Welcome
cut
questions.
his 15-minute presentation down to 6.
Yep, thanks, guys.
Okay.
Yep, no worries. Great.
Questions?
So since we didn't hear the whole thing, obviously, would like to know who the customer is.
That's a great question. So the business model canvas does a really great job of describing that. The customers we've identified thus far are groups like the DoD. They've got a major problem with PFAS at every single one of their Air Force bases. Municipal wastewater managers and water treatment managers who are all pulling PFAS out, and they're filtering it, and they've got to get rid of that filtered material that's now got this hazardous waste contaminating it. And then also the industrial remediation companies. Every time you guys go out there and you want to buy a clean bottle of water, you can imagine that nobody wants to sell you bottled water with PFAS in it. They're having to filter stuff out. They have to dump that filtered PFAS somewhere as well. We created a huge mess. We've got to pull it out. And at the moment, there is no technology to clean up and destroy the stuff at the other end.
Well, this is a big problem, and looks like you might have a big solution. Anyone that can destroy the largest environmental crisis since asbestos is onto something. Can you talk to us about your cost structure and revenue model?
Yeah, so I'll sort of say that, first of all, yes, big problem, absolutely right. We sort of see it as, in a few years from now being a $20 billion problem that has to be taken care of and cleaned up. So what does it mean in a market that big? Well, the technology that we sort of see in the picture that we showed here, we see a unit like this, a mobile destruction system, costing around about $300,000 to build. That is a fraction of comparable technologies, but again, there is no PFAS destruction technology out there. And we think we could destroy at a gallon rate of about half of what it currently costs to actually take the stuff, truck it, and dump it in a landfill, which is currently what is happening. And once you dump it in a landfill, it doesn't go away. It just cycles back into our water streams again. So for about half the cost, we think we can be pretty competitive. And it's gone. Yeah.
Can you just clarify, at what point is your technology applied to the water? Can you, like, out of the stream, dump this stuff in it and it's drinkable, or is it for water that's already gone through a process?
So let me just jump to the slide that I didn't get the chance to show you guys. What we're trying to do here in Alaska is we want to set up there's a regulation currently in the House and the Senate right now to try and regulate PFAS to be limited to 8 drops. 8 drops in 20 Olympic-sized swim pools, or 8 parts per trillion, right? Super dilute. So the problem with PFAS, it's so dilute, but even at those levels, it still has health risks associated with it. So what do you have to do? Well, you have to filter a lot of water, and as you guys can see with the Brita filter, it takes a long time to filter water. So they use these huge machines, they filter it through, they end up with all this, truckloads of this powder stuff that they use, and that's all contaminated PFAS. So what we do is we take that concentrated PFAS and we destroy that stuff, because at the moment they take that to the landfill, or they try and take that stuff to the incinerator, and when they take it to the incinerator, it ends up in our air supply and back on the ground, and the cycle of PFAS continues on.
Just real quickly, can you talk to us about any kind of intellectual property with that powder? Is there anything that you've got on there that you've got some claims or patents filed?
Well, Yeah, okay, go ahead.
The powder isn't ours. This is just off-the-shelf technology that is used to pull it out of the water. What we do is we destroy the powder with the PFAS in it. That's not our technology. That's just activated carbon and ion resin. The powder is what actually concentrates it. Then we destroy that.
So your destruction process, is there anything around that? There could be some intellectual property associated.
Yeah. Yes, we have it patented.
Yeah, just to add on, so that was a patent that has been granted through the University of Alaska Fairbanks, focused on having an additive manufactured thermochemical treatment reactor, but again, it gets a bit technical after that, so yeah.
Okay, not to get too technical. So you have a license agreement from University of Alaska?
We do have a license agreement from the University of Alaska, and we've got a bunch of other cool things in track and on the way as we go forward, but I think we're kind of out of time. But I'll put up this slide just to leave us you guys with it. We've had SBIR applications applied, I-Corps funding as well to help us do the customer discovery. We have a $250,000 grant with Idaho National Lab because this is of national importance right now, as well as we've got an identified initial prototype test bed to try and try this technology out in. So we're working at it. You know, it's just a few tech engineering guys trying to help those heroes clean up the water. So that's what we're doing. Thanks, everyone.
Great. Nigel, Jonathan, thank you. Okay, so now we're going to be playing music in the background while the judges contemplate, and there will be several people moving through the audience to pick up your votes, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes to announce the results of the pitch contest.
So without further ado, we'd like to transition to our next wonderful feature that we have for you tonight. I have the honor of introducing Becca Souza. Becca coordinates the First in Alaska program and is an employee extraordinaire with us at JEDC. So please join me in welcoming Becca Souza to the stage.
Hello, and thanks for making it through the epic first day of the Innovation Summit. In my opinion, to the best part of the whole 2 days, so congratulations. My name is Becca Souza. Like Sierra said, I am the STEM program manager at JEDC, and a big part of my job is managing a program called FIRST Robotics. And I do this every year with a little bit of hesitation, but who in the room has heard of FIRST? Okay, every year it goes up by a hand or two, so we're getting somewhere. FIRST is a robotics program. It's a K-12 league, just like you'd have a soccer league, but these kids are building and programming robots, and possibly more important than that, they are engaging and building problems to solutions to problems that they identify in their communities. So yes, you'll see lots of pictures that go along with FIRST LEGO League with very cute little Lego robots, pushing Lego buildings around and knocking down a Lego crane. And the kids are programming in languages up into Python in high school. But what I really love about this program at the elementary and middle school level is that they're also coming up with very, very real solutions. They have nothing to do with Legos. Often they have nothing to do with robots. Every year across the state, we get to award an innovation award that recognizes a team that has one of these solutions that our judges feel is really worth recognizing and worth pushing farther. So we pick out one team out of the 180 teams that we have across the state that's going to win the opportunity to apply to the Global Innovation Award. So this team that you're about to see tonight is embarking on a much bigger journey than they've had so far. They had their practice, they had their season, and they came up with this great idea that wowed our judges. Now it's their job to turn that as close to a reality as possible. So they have a chance to apply to the Global Innovation Award. That award, out of the hundreds and hundreds of applications they'll get from around the world, that committee will pick 20 semifinalists to fly to San Jose and compete for $20,000 after pitching their project at that point to really make it happen. I think this year's team, they're from the village of Sleetmute. So there's our next question. Who knows where Sleetmute is? Okay, not as many hands as first. I just learned it's 166 miles northeast of Bethel on the Kuskokwim River. There are 80 residents in Sleetmute. I think they said 17 students in the school? 18 students, K-12 in the school. We have 3 students from their robotics team tonight to share their idea on how to solve a very important problem in their community. And what we want from the audience tonight is for you to participate in their creative problem exercise, in contributing ideas, suggestions, connections. You can imagine how hard it is to develop an idea in a small community like that you don't have access to all the resources that a lot of us have. So we asked them to take advantage of the room tonight. You'll see on your tables that there's an envelope that's labeled Sleetmute. As they present, if you have ideas, if you have connections, this is their chance to network and gather as much of that as they can. They'll pass that message along in their presentation too, and from here on out, I'm gonna let them do the rest of the talking. So if everybody can welcome up the Sleetmute Wildcat Robot Creators.
We as a team see a problem with drunks coming in our building. They ruin potlucks, basketball tournaments, and graduations.
Drunks are obnoxious. They might have a gun. They cuss, yell, put your community in danger, and break glass. So I'm going to tell a story of what happened at graduation last year. So last year we had a graduation for a student, and a drunk came in, and unfortunately I was sitting right under her, and she started to stand up and yell and say like obnoxious stuff. And so we asked her to leave, but she wouldn't, and at the end that graduate said she felt embarrassed when it happened.
We were researching on detecting alcohol in blood. We got our research on the internet and we talked to the blood bank. What we researched was that 0.08 blood alcohol content is the limit for going to places that alcohol is not allowed. We found a way to know if they are drunk, like they can do a spit sample, a breathalyzer, a urine sample, or a blood sample.
Most of the ways we research would take up much time and are messy, so we invented the alcohol detector, which we called the Drunk Cam. The Drunk Cam is the name of the app on the teacher's phone. It will be solar paneled with speakers and a camera to make sure the drunks have left, and detect drugs or alcohol on the screen is a prototype.
Our scanner, slide 2. Our scanner will be mounted to the railing that leads to the entrance. It would detect alcohol in their body and set off a warning. The warning will make an announcement and sounds a message to a teacher. If they continue walking up the steps, it will trigger a lockdown. To keep the people inside safe, we will show you how it works. Do not enter. Wait, warning, do not enter.
Oh no, someone who's not supposed to be coming in is trying to come in.
We would we would greatly appreciate your support to make this project a reality. The drunk cam is a security system that would keep our school safe. When we created this project, it was a dream that we would never imagine would take us this far.
In our village, we have no local law enforcement and no local health services or experts. So it wasn't until we went to the state competition in Anchorage where we met blood specialists and began to modify our prototype to something more realistic. Tomorrow we will meet with a drug specialist with Juneau Police Department. Right now we are looking for resources to help us.
On the tables, you will find envelopes. If you are interested in helping us develop this prototype, please put your business card in the envelope. Or if you would like to give money to support our robotics team, you can make a donation. It costs us $2,400 round trip to get to Anchorage. For our competition, and in a town of 80, that's a lot of fundraising. Chamai, that means thank you in Yupik.
You can tell them, do you have any questions?
Do you have any questions?
What advice have you received so far about a prototype?
Like he said, we went to the Blood Bank of Alaska, and they gave us some information that helped us change it.
So no matter what anybody tells you, you guys stick with it. I have seen some of the craziest stuff that you can imagine that doesn't make any sense in the whole world. And with a little bit of perseverance and determination, they turned it into like amazing, amazing solutions for the whole world. I'm so impressed with you. I will definitely put money in my card in your envelope.
All right, and just a quick acknowledgement too. I want to acknowledge the team's coach, Angela Hayden, sitting up here in the front. If everybody can give her a round of applause too. And I think I'm going to stall for a minute. Everybody loves having the mic on short notice. But it does give me a chance to point out, you can see the really great work being done by the robotics team in Sleepmute. In every community where you all live, there are teams just like this that are looking for support. And again, it's not just a club building with Legos. These are teams that are really looking at changing their communities, at taking problems into their own hands and figuring out solutions. So if it's something that seems like a program you might want to work with, please come see me so I can connect you with a local team. And then if we get to your community and we find out that there's not that resource available, JEDC can help you work with the schools or homeschool or just families in your community to get something started. It's one of those things that I wish had been available in school when I was there, and it's K-12. There's over $80 million in scholarships available just to kids that come up through this program, and it just sets them on a path to come back and contribute to Alaska in exciting and unique ways. And I'm still stalling. Does anyone have any questions about the program? Okay, there's 2 questions, and I can answer both of them. How many communities? We are in about 50 communities across the state and 25 school districts. And then, is it school-sponsored or JEDC-sponsored? And the answer is both. So JEDC coordinates the program. We volunteer as an organization to support the program statewide. But then each school or team is responsible for some of their own fundraising and registration fees to support their local programs. All right, and with that, I am going to hand the mic over, and you'll hear some results.
And actually, while we have them standing in front of everybody, waiting to find the results, would the judges like to make any comments about the contest or anything?
None of you talked about competition. So to me, competition's probably the most important slide in the whole deck.
Oh, I had a slide.
If you didn't talk about it, that's on you. Competition is important in a bunch of ways. It tells us more than just who the other players are. It tells us that you've done your homework. It tells us that you understand the customer, and it tells us what your potential exit opportunities are. And so it's super, super important. It tells investors just a ton of things about what you're doing, what you're trying to get done.
One of the things, so we saw really a lot of passion from all the companies, and I know how hard it is to stand up and pitch something that in some cases doesn't exist yet. So there's a few things that you all have in common. One is you're delusional, and that is such a powerful thing. Don't let it go. You have to believe that something is real and go make it real. So I applaud you for that. Don't lose it. The other thing that we know that you all have in common is that you're wrong. You're wrong about so much. And the ability to be right is less important than the ability to execute. So my comment to you is, as you embark on whatever stage you're in, you're all at different stages in development and execution, remember that you can be right all the way to bankruptcy. So be open to new information, be open to pivot, and remember that the number one thing that kills companies is lack of customers.
Okay, so before we announce the results, let's give all 4 businesses a round of applause. Are you guys drinking filtered water? Or what? Okay, just thought I'd ask. Okay, well, the voting was fairly clear. I'm going to announce the runner-up first, which will include a prize of $542 in cash, and that would be Aquaga. And I'll say your name right when you learn how to say Gustavus. I tried. And the winner of tonight's pitch contest with a $1,628 cash prize is Salty Lady. And with that, thank you, everyone, and take the time to talk to these people. This is great. And so have a great evening. Thank you.